Negotiations are underway in Berlin to form a new coalition government between Chancellor Angela Merkel's center-right Christian Democratic Union and the Social Democratic Party. The SPD voted by a narrow margin on Sunday to begin coalition negotiations with Merkel's party, but some members of the SPD are displeased with their party's decision. Here to talk us through what we can expect as negotiations begin are Talking Points analysts Thomas St. Hilaire and Conor Wight. Guys, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you very much.
Now, how important is it for Angela Merkel to form a coalition government?
Well, really, it's important for a couple of reasons. I mean, the first thing is talks with previous parties back in November failed. So the pressure is really building up on this. It's extremely substantial. But the second thing is this is a real opportunity for Angela Merkel to cement her legacy as a leader in Europe, a legacy that's already quite long and lengthy. Once she can address this issue in Germany, she can start focusing on some other issues throughout Europe, such as Brexit, and then also start focusing on things like, who her successor is, something that she hasn't really done yet.
She needs to get this coalition together in order to ensure that she continues governing, because without it, it's either a minority government, which she has already said that she does not want to do, or she'll have to call a new election.
In getting from minority to that coalition, what obstacles is she going to face along the way?
The main obstacle that she faces is the SPD. The vote to begin talks only cleared by about 56% yes vote. So there's huge divisions within that party. A lot of them are concerned that initial talks sort of water down what they need from the deal. A lot of people in this party don't want to, including a powerful youth movement, which is actually calling for people across Germany to sign up purely to derail this deal.
Well, the other thing, her hand is kind of forced a bit because, again, those deals failed back in November. So this is really her last effort to do this.
In between Angela Merkel and the SPD, going into these discussions, who do you think has more leverage?
It's less of a question of leverage, I think, and actually more of a question of influence and how you can really sway consensus. I mean, we've seen over the last 2 years, ever since really Germany agreed to take over 1 million migrants, that there's been kind of a dwindling of influence that Merkel's been able to have over the consensus. We saw in the elections back in September, it was actually the weakest vote turnout for Merkel's party since Germany, the Federal Union, formed in 1949. So again, she's been struggling a bit to kind of form some of this consensus, and really this coalition government will really be a reflection of that.
Conor, you agree?
I would say that I agree for the most part, but I think that, as you said, she needs to get this done after failed talks in November. So there's a bit of desperation there, and I think that the SPD could play off that to try to get some of their issues to the forefront of negotiations.
And I would say that that desperation plays both inside Germany and outside Germany. And when it comes to sort of how this will affect international politics as them being a very strong component of the European Union, how does the European Union sort of go forward in this? What does it mean if the European Union, if they can create this coalition government?
Well, Merkel needs this coalition government in order to stay, as the leader of Germany, as the leader of the European Union within that. We see that Germany has a huge influence not only over Europe, but over, the world as a whole. The euro took a huge dive against the yen back in November when the initial talks failed. So for her to keep her stance as a strong leader and to ensure that Germany continues to lead the European Union going forward, she needs to make this happen.
Just to be clear, it's also really how other countries benefit too. I mean, you've seen Emmanuel Macron in France, who's really trying to push forward some pretty revolutionary economic policies in the European Union.
Absolutely.
Again, with a lot of those Brexit talks.
Thomas and Conor, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.